all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown. With me for the very first time is our Rye Wrestler. Say hi, Rye Wrestler.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you so
Yes,
much for
thank you.
having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is so exciting. We are obviously in the midst of, just a huge Jess Ross renaissance on Dropout. We got you in Ratfish. We've got you killing it on Smarty Pants and Thousandaires. Like so many exciting things all happening right now. But and this is directly from someone on my Patreon who wanted me to ask you, what is the Philly improv scene like? And then my own personal question, how do you pronounce the word water?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I love this question because anytime I'm asked about Philly comedy or get a chance to talk about it, it's absolutely incredible. I got my start there doing stuff at the Philly Improv Theater, which I think may still be around. But it's so fun. Not that people aren't experimental and get weird out here, but I just feel like it was. Because like out here there's a bit of a pipeline of like, oh, I hope someone's in the audience that can see me and rep me, and there it was just like we are doing it because we love it, because this is my weird idea and I just spent way too much money on a prop that I'm only going to use one time. Remember one time my wife made like just a giant steak outfit for like a food fight sketch that she wanted to do. So yeah, there's just like a lot of passion. It's so funny, and it's just people do it because they love it, which is something that I always love. And then
That's so much.
it's, I guess water is the way, but I honestly don't know. I think I say water.
Oh,
Is
hey,
that
look at
right?
you. Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
Truly one of my favorite things, a big NADPOD fan, is every time, because obviously it gets said a lot that Murph says water.
Oh,
It
yeah,
makes me
yeah,
laugh
yeah.
every single time.
I know there's like
But yes,
home, phone, yeah,
yeah,
hoagie, Wawa.
yeah. So good. Well, that's delightful. So obviously we've gotten. Well, first of all, Game Changer. I think we can say that you've been there the whole time because you were on episode 1, and now in our season 6 finale. So spanning the length of the show. What I guess broadly, what are some of the major differences between Lie Detector and Ratfish, other than obviously one's in a hotel?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was really even there before that because I can remember the pitch meeting of being in a big conference room and Sam pitching the idea to everybody and how excited he was about just Game Changer in general. I don't even know if it had that name at that time, but just like a game show where it changes each time. And then I think it was a bit before it actually then Dropout happened and then it happened. But yeah, I think the big difference would be one, you kind of in the first ones you had truly no idea what to expect. Like now there are some callback episodes or ones where like a grain of something that was fun in one gets like blown out in another one, or you show up like you know where to look around the studio a bit more, or not that you could even figure out them, but you're like, oh, is somebody over here? Oh, maybe there's extra cars. But back then it was like we had no idea what to expect with it. That day on the first one, my wife had told me that she had like a commercial audition or something. And I can remember being in the makeup chair, like, oh, Kate has an audition today and I hope it goes really well and that she gets it. And then, like, an hour later, she's there. So I truly had no idea. And I guess back then, it felt like there were more prizes, maybe, but now, like, yeah, there were some like wild prizes to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. It's been so fun to watch the show expand. Well, it's the breadth of it, although obviously not expand its prizes. Come on, Sam. Yeah, and God, Ratfish. So my assumption is, I talked to Katie yesterday, so I've gotten some insights on Ratfish and Smarty Pants, which we can talk about.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah. Oh, my God, yeah.
um, oh my God, Katie. But like, obviously, like Ratfish had to have aired or have filmed before Thousandaires. Otherwise, clearly you would have been found out immediately. Sorry,
Yes,
not Thousandaires,
yes.
Smarty Pants. Because everyone would have been like, "Well, wrestler, that's Jess." Is obviously like deep love of wrestling for you? How? how much fun was it making the wrestling landlord character and playing as him in your botanical suite? I don't, is that the best way to describe it?
Yeah,
Like,
like a little fairy forest. I mean, it was
yeah,
so fun. It was I can remember like going into the room where we were going to do the photo shoot, and then like Sam and Paul are there and they're just like, "All right, what do you want your character to be?" And so we were brainstorming a bit. And then the wrestler I think came pretty quick. I had had like my little fringe jacket on, and I think that whenever we were filming it, I think I was watching a lot of old like WrestleManias on pay-per-view with friends. So it was probably just like in my brain at the time. And then, yeah, it was very much a fever dream of a day. We like film very early, so you kind of have to be on that big like first thing. And so I was just like, let me just like go all out and be so silly and stupid. I can't really think of like when it's clips later, otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to do anything on the show.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny talking to Katie about it. She was like, I left so exhausted because I
Yes,
had put like everything into being this character all day long, and I just left just exhausted. Same feeling for you. I know you and
absolutely.
Katie
Yeah.
and Reika got to explore each other's rooms, but yeah, like just like dead tired. I can't even go check out what's happening elsewhere.
It was just such a different filming day because we're usually like get to be in a green room together and like chit chatting and catching up or like between takes. But that was just like you were there by yourself. There was the person in the room writing down things for you. But you really feel like you're on the whole time or need to be talking the whole time. And you're trying to play the game and be good, which I'm not very good at like strategy or that. So I was just like, let me just be silly and see what happens. And you're also like, how are other people in the other rooms receiving this? Or, there were like, it just felt like a million things happening at once. So people who are on the actual show, I give them a lot more credit. It's harder than it looks because it feels
Yeah.
like we were doing it. I mean, of course, our characters were sillier, but pretty much doing what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean, very actively trying to trick people and also figure out who is there. Like a
Yeah.
lot of work going into that. Did you keep anything from your room, or did it all go back
Did I
to
keep
props?
anything? I think it all went back to props. Why did Katie steal something?
Not that I know of.
Oh.
I was just curious if you have the like Sam Fairy Garden portrait
No, no, no,
somewhere.
no. I'm sure that's somewhere in like the Dropout. Like there's a big room that has all the extra stuff. I know
A
the
big
dress, I
like
think. I don't know if they took it apart, but there was a while that the dress from Thousandaires was definitely there.
such a good
Yeah, that
prop.
was a really fun
Um,
one.
Yeah, I mean, Thousandaires. I'll say like outside of Game Changer, show running Thousandaires feels like the most difficult show running job, at least at Dropout. What is that like jumping into that role for such a, I mean, for Dropout, big budget show?
Absolutely. I mean, I can remember it was either like um a game changer, maybe it was the bingo one or the dirty laundry that I did with Paul and Kimia and Oscar that like Sam just came up to me in the green room and was like, "Oh, we have like this idea for a show and we want you to be like a part of it in some way." And they had offered me a head writer position or the showrunner. And I had done head writer before. And and I was a bit anxious to take it on because it did seem big and I wanted to do a good job with it. But when I was looking over like what they were asking of it, I was like, I can do this. So it took like a bit of bravery to be like, all right, I'm going to take this on. And it's kind of weird. It felt like a lot of work and a lot of improv, but so much fun. Like I can't say it was difficult in the way of like we were working hard and wanted to do a really good job, but it never felt like, oh God, like it was always like thinking on our feet and everyone who worked on it was so unbelievably incredible. And I think having such a great time, which was really important with it because there was a lot to do. So we were trying to like bring out the best in all of the teams and make sure like like the fun of both the cast and the crew and everything was just coming out in it. So yeah, in a way I can't like say it was hard. It was a lot of work, but it was just really fun. That was the vibe we were going for. And definitely production and the art department for the show are such the heavy lifts as far as like coordinating with all of our outside guests as well as all of our guests who are there. And then our art department both creating things for it and just the movement of each day of making sure things are where they're supposed to be. And it went so seamlessly. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, you've only seen the first episode. It was so much fun. The
Yay.
giant dress. I just look. It was so good.
I think
All of it was so good. But God, that giant dress.
it was really funny because some people knew we sent out like the prompt for everybody, like come up with ideas. And part of my job was to like pick from a couple that they sent and like work on like how are we going to make it a whole segment or how are we going to make it come to life. And there were some people in this cast too, both Giovanni and Vic, who knew instantly what they wanted and just pretty much just sent one thing. They were like, I'd really like to do this and I'll send more. But and once like that just really warmed my heart because I was like, yeah, we want to make that come true. Like if you're just so excited for this, then I'm excited about it. And yeah, Giovanni sent a bunch of it was like part Rococo kind of vibes and part drag race. And then Chloe in our art department and Carly just really, I think that that was their favorite one to work on because, yeah, they really just got to let loose and have fun with it.
Yeah, I will say about Vix, I am confused how that was only $1,000. It feels like it should have been more expensive. I feel like Vic was calling in some favors and
I
not
mean,
paying people.
across the series, everyone is paid, but there are definitely some talents that probably deserve more than what in our budget we were unable to give them. But I think, again, because they were kind of, especially for people with passion projects, I think they were
Mhm.
calling on favors from friends and, you know, that they were excited to do this and show it too, just as much as the person who was the contestant. So I think you'll see as the season goes, there are a couple that feel like that. It's like we definitely called in some favors. And we also have our art department, so they have their own connections or things that they can make that maybe if you were doing this on your own would be far more difficult to do this for $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting someone to compose an original song for you might be a bit more, as well as
Yeah.
flying someone
Yeah.
across the country might be a bit more than $1,000. But hey, like Vic's got the connections, they should use them. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I one of the things that it's funny. Like I was watching the show with my wife, and like it was like really enjoying Jacob's like band set. Everything was super fun, and then I watched my wife just fall in love with the show at Giovanni's dress.
Oh,
Just like
good.
everything about it just like clicked for her. Of just like I love all like love just a giant dress concept. Loved the slumber party vibes inside the dress. It's such a instantly fun show, and I think such a like simple premise, but so complicated in execution, if that makes sense. Of just like, hey, you have $1,000 to delight your friends. Do whatever you want, but also go nuts because your friends are wild.
Yeah, yeah. And there were some people who just had the idea and then it was pretty much like in our hands to like get the resources and they just show up day of and interact with it. And there were some people that was just like step by step. Like I know Jacob had rehearsals with the band and Vic had rehearsals and yeah, so there was like varying degrees of like each one was its own little production.
Yeah,
But yeah, the dress one in particular, when they all, I can remember watching the cuts and like when they all like come out and are being birthed, or even when it was happening live, I was like, this is so fun. And like a
yeah.
moment we couldn't have expected, even in making it, like that part makes me laugh the most. I love that.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, I mean the like Giovanni coming up out of the dress, Vic's face as like Giovanni like, births into like so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just the absolute. I mean, look, he's not even in the episode, but Brendan Lee Mulligan yes anding a prank call is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Of just like him saying, it's just me name dropping, and I don't mean for it to be. I messaged Giovanni earlier, and they're like, yeah, the Brennan saying yes, doctor to Jacob was so funny because very like Lisa had already said the word piss, so that his piss stinks. Like obviously it's a prank call, and Brennan's like, no, I'm gonna keep going with it.
Oh, yeah.
it's funnier if I keep going. Just so good.
Yeah, we had told him because they had been on maternity leave, so weren't able to
Mhm.
be a part of the show. But we knew once we had the slumber party element, like what do you do at a slumber party? Play games and do pranks. And we were like, oh, maybe that's a fun way to get either it was going to be a call to Sam, who I think had a meeting maybe during that time, or Brennan. And we had asked just to block off the time, but had not explained anything that was going on. So he
Right.
didn't know that it was a slumber party, that it was going to be all of them there. And I don't think he had Giovanni's number. So that was another, like, it was a random number that popped up, but he knew, like, oh, it's this time
Yeah.
window. I know I'm getting a call. This is either spam or it's Dropout calling me for something stupid.
And it was something so
Yes,
stupid and
yes.
so wonderful.
I
Also
think there was
love.
another call to Jacob's mom that had to get cut just so that we'd just have one call. But like Jacob at
Mhm.
one point was like getting scared at the slumber party and then like called his mom to pick him up. And it was a voicemail. So left a voicemail about being scared. And then at the very end was like, but actually everything's okay. I find my mom, which was very cute.
Oh, that's so funny. The big, like, the you suck hang up energy of
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but really don't be afraid of this voicemail. Yeah. And then obviously, like, Lisa, I mean, besides the instant, like, doctor voice that we get from Lisa, which is just so impeccable, the Lisa's "I'm going to also hurt my friends a little bit" choice is so funny. Of like, oh, like the light shock is so good.
That was all Lisa. She's so funny. And we had like a one-on-one, the whole team to talk to her to make sure that we were getting like everything right. And like all of those elements of like, I want them to like be in a little bit of pain and they have to touch it. And I think all those things, like she's like very naughty and mischievous in such a fun way. So I loved that element of it. Yeah. And then I think there were times when it was going to be like they were all kids, and then we thought it would be fun, yeah, to see like different times of them, like the future and the baby.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. Also very, very delightful that I mean, of like because we have like the very important people pairing of Lisa and Vic as well, to see Vic still get tormented by Lisa
Oh
of
yeah.
like, here's an old woman who's here to tell you that everything is bad in the future, unlike getting to see a baby or a young version of yourself.
It's so funny
Just
because
like,
all these things film like so at like
right.
such different times. It might be like months in between, and then they may come out all around the same time, and then like seeing similarities in certain things. It's so weird because none of it's like we don't like. There are some things where you like, oh, we did this in this show, so we don't want to repeat it, or if we want to repeat it, do it in a mindful way. But yeah, stuff like that sometimes it's just like total coincidence.
Yeah. But a delightful coincidence. I know your couch, when you're hosting, is Katie, Lily, Teo, and Sam. And we at
Yes,
least know Sam's purchase of Goth Makeover.
yes,
So
yes.
that's not a spoiler since it's in the trailer. It looks like it's the most fun thing in the world. Is it as fun as I think it is?
It was really fun, and it's also really exhausting. That one's an exhausting one too. I was surprised how much so because it's almost like you're getting like five surprise parties and you're just like screaming and excited for like hours straight. Like you're filming, we filmed two a day, six total. So yeah, you're just like excited for half a day, which can just feel so draining, but also very, very fun.
Yeah, I assume you're on set for all of them as
Yes.
showrunner. Do you want to explain what showrunner is versus head writer? I know they're pretty similar, but
I mean, as head writer, my job probably would have just been like contacting, again, this isn't like written like, a TV
yeah.
show, but contacting the contestants and helping them figure out what their things look like would have been part of it. Also, like just the copy of the show, like the things that the host says. I think maybe some design elements. It's been like a second since I looked at the differences, but the showrunner would also take more of like pre-production and post-production roles. So like working, being on set the whole time. Not that the head writer one is also, but I totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Working like so I was like working with production, making sure like things were under budget, and then in post noting it. So kind of taking on more of like almost a hybrid between like head writer and director is a bit of the role,
Hmm.
I guess. And then our director Marissa, who was a editor and director at College Humor, and when I was asked who I wanted to direct, was the first person that I thought of, and she hadn't done things with us for a bit, so that she said yes, I was so excited. And she was absolutely incredible to work with, and I couldn't have done it without her. So we kind of like in tandem kind of took over a lot of those two.
Yeah, that's super fun. I love that. Are there any that are coming up that you're particularly excited for people to see? Not necessarily what
Um,
it is, but the person who bought it.
There's one where they all were pretty clear before we were going to like film it. There was only one the day of where I was like, I still don't totally know what this is or what's going to happen in it. It was Ellie Woods. I think it'll be in the finale. And their purchase, just being there, because it almost felt then like I was a bit of a contestant because I truly did not know what was going on. And it was such a fun, weird fever dream. Yeah, I that one I'm very excited for people to see. But I mean, really, all of them. Each episode is so different. Some people are like a little more competitive. Some are just like total chaos wild cards. I feel like the episode with like Erica and Becca, that one I think was the first one we filmed, and it felt so. It just felt like we've been like hit by a train. Like it was just nonstop chaos. And then some
Yeah.
are a little like more chill. So I'm interested to see which one's hit.
Yeah, I'm really excited for more. One of the things that it kind of struck me is Thousandaires feels like a spiritual successor to Don't Cry in like the best possible way of like, hey, we're going to surprise and delight our friends, obviously with more foreknowledge for everyone
Yeah,
involved.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, how was Don't Cry for you? I will say I also lost the game.
Oh yeah.
Cried a lot.
That was I had filmed two that day. So the first one was actually Sex with Me, which was the first one we did, and I won. And I was like, I fucking nailed that. Like I ruled. Like that was so awesome. And then, like I don't even know what the second one's gonna be. But I'm sure it won't top that or, like and then I truly did not know of course I didn't know the premise in general, but then that it was based towards me until I think like Rika read hers, and then I was like, oh, okay. And then like they were
Yeah,
all, it was really, it was very overwhelming. I mean, what you see is exactly how it felt. I had had surgery on my back. There was like a year where I couldn't pretty much walk. I would be able to like maybe walk around the block, but I was just in excruciating pain. I couldn't like bend down. I was lying, and then plus like my wedding being canceled and like not having a job. And it was just like a really, really low time. And then I had had my surgery. Then we filmed that. So it just felt like almost all of the stuff that I had pushed aside, I think with all of that happening too, or maybe like internalized, it felt like it all came out that day. So by the end, I remember the cameras cutting and like I was shaking and like Kate was holding me like it's okay. Like it's like it was like a little overwhelming that day. I was
yeah,
just like, I've been crying for like an hour and a half straight. So like just go lie down for a bit. But in the best
yeah,
way possible. It was very fun
right.
and very sweet.
Yeah, you needed your fairy garden that day to go
Yes,
recover in.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those like, it's always funny because I'm very active like on various social media dropout related, and every time someone like a new person starts watching Game Changer and they get to that episode, it's always like, well, now I need to have a conversation about this episode because this broke me. And it's like, yeah, the posts are so common of just like, hey, I just watched Don't Cry for the first time. And it's like, yeah, it'll get you. Yeah,
Aw.
it's one of the things that I love about Dropout is, like I said, like it feels Thousandaires feels in that same vein of just like we've taken a group of friends and like very much encouraged them to love each other and then delight us with comedy. But the focus feels more a lot of the times on the people in the room rather than necessarily fans watching. And like, not that obviously we're not enjoying the content, but like it
Yeah,
makes such a good
yeah.
relationship on set. I mean, Dirty Laundry is a perfect example, right? Of like, we're getting to watch in on this like private moment, even though obviously it's designed for television. Um, and like Thousandaires feels so much like that, and feels, even just having seen that first episode in the trailer, it's just so much fun to watch people like delight their friends.
Yeah, it was definitely a balance of wanting to be like, have it be fun for the people, because I thought like if it's genuinely fun for you, that will come across, and the audience will like it. And knowing that the audience like loves these people that are on Dropout, so just you being your authentic self, and then knowing that just like the ideas that people have are creative and fun and silly and over the top, and yeah, just kind of like trusting people's creative instincts and knowing that that's going to, resonate with people. Because if you're being honest, I think then it like shows. So that's was
Yeah.
the biggest thing of the show, was just like, I remember one person being like, I feel like I'm tricking Dropout into like buying me something that I like. I'm like, that's the exact feeling you should have. That's good. Trick us, take the money, and do whatever you think would be the most like silly, wonderful thing that you could spend this on for you and your friends and our audience.
Yeah, yeah, it's so much fun. It's really funny because I mean, like every show that comes out, I see a like batch of people who are like, "This is my new favorite show on Dropout." Like every time, like Smarty Pants, a bunch of people are like, "This is my favorite show on Dropout." Thousandaires, instantly, "This is my favorite show on Dropout." And it's just funny to see like Dropout get hit after hit after hit, just really understanding what the audience wants. And I think so much of that is the authenticity of performers and the people behind it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I can remember Sam coming up to me that first time when he had talked about it, and he was like, "We just want a show where we can also like bring back the old College Humor people and also have the new, and just kind of have like, yeah, a fun, like this is everybody just having fun right now." So that was always, yeah, front of mind when making it.
yeah, super fun. And speaking of Smarty Pants, obviously we got your truly like incredible presentation of Wrestling is
Yeah.
Drag. I loved it so much. I haven't watched wrestling in a long time, but I did grow up very much watching wrestling. Like the like went over to a friend's house to get because some we would split the cost of a pay per view at one
Oh
particular
yeah,
friend's house so
yeah.
that we could all watch it together.
My pop pop in Philly would like steal it from the cable company, so we lived in South Jersey and would like drive to Philly to watch every pay-per-view at his place.
Yeah, we occasionally would have a friend that had like the little connector you could put on the back of
Yes,
your TV
yes.
that would steal it. Those were the best. Yeah, it was such a funny presentation because the moment you said it, it immediately was just like, yes, this is true, and I want to hear all about it. Like it was. How was putting that presentation together for you? How was that your like first initial idea? Did you have others that bounced around first?
I had a couple other ones. We had again, usually when we're asked stuff like this, we send like a list of things, and then like Paul had looked it over and he immediately picked that one. I had always been trying to do something with like wrestling. I'd remember at like in College Humor when we were pitching stuff, I was trying to think of like wrestling is gay or something like that, but I just couldn't quite find the right angle on it. So when this came up, I thought it could be a fun way to like present that idea. And then yeah, Paul liked that one, and I was slightly nervous because it wasn't like I had seen people at least say this before. Like I know it wasn't a completely like novel observation. So I was like, how can I find ways to make it specific? Because the things I saw were pretty like general about it. So I really tried to find like what are like the exact examples. So getting into like, of course, the clothes and the makeup, but also like the factions and the like all, like once I started finding the comparisons, I was like, oh wow, there are like way more than even I realized,
Yeah.
which was very fun. And then when we had people create the presentations for us, or like we could if we wanted to, but someone helped me with mine.
Yeah.
And I had just said I wanted it to feel like, because it was reminding me of like being a kid again, kind of like almost 90s colorful Lisa Frankie, gay glittery meets like wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, that's so good. You also then were on set for, I assume you were on set. I can't remember if you were in the audience for Katie's presentation about
Yeah.
eggs. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Good God. What a wild presentation. And I talked to
Yeah.
Katie yesterday, and like, we talked about how it's so funny to me. She didn't think it was funny. when she made it. She thought it was serious, and it wasn't until Sam came up laughing afterwards that she discovered that it was funny and was like, no, mine was just a real thing about eggs. Everyone else's was funny, mine wasn't. What was it like in the room for the 45-minute, at least started over once presentation about eggs?
Yeah, I mean that it was the first one of the day, and I can remember being in the green room and we were all kind of like, oh, we're like a little anxious to do this because it is very different than your typical dropout thing of most of the time we like show up and it's very like talky, conversational. You don't have to like prepare a ton. So this felt very much like, oh, like I have like I'm in school again and I have to like and there was like
Yeah.
a time limit that we were supposed to have. I could remember like being at home timing myself and my wife watching it like over and over. So then when Katie went first and it was going on for like 20 and then 30 and then she restarted and then longer. I mean, the funniest part was handing out the eggs to us, and then I think someone like said something rude about the egg, and she was like, "Collect them all," and then like she took most of them back, and some of them were like bitten. Some people were hiding theirs because they didn't want to eat it. Um, so when that one went first, it was more just like, what is today gonna be? Like, what are they like? Are none of us like prepared for this? Are they all gonna go that long and we're not gonna make our day? But it was so funny too. I mean, we were just like, I think laughing and also just baffled by it and just like, oh, like we don't know what this is. We thought it was one thing, but it's something totally different.
Yeah.
I think
Oh
we also
man.
kept interrupting a lot, which then we were told to do less of in later episodes, just to make our day, but then also like make sure they could do their presentation. But each one it was
Right.
told like, oh, you can let the audience know how much like interaction you want to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, it's so funny. It's so funny to me, the idea that she didn't think she was like nailing a comedy presentation is just hysterical. Yeah, it was yes, but so Smarty Pants. One of the things that I really enjoyed about Smarty Pants is getting this like very different and weird like presentations from everyone. I should say weird from everyone, but like very very different presentations.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, like you were there for one day. Are you watching then every week the weeks that you're not there to get to see like the other like you get to see Ross Bryant talk about the swing revival.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I see like the clips online and watch the episodes. And we like because I think we filmed the whole day, so it was just us there, but we're also
Mhm.
all like close and chatting too. So I think even leading up to it, we were trying to not tell people in our group what we were doing, especially as it got closer. Maybe like I knew Katie's, but vaguely that it was just eggs. And I was like, that's crazy. Okay. But we're telling like each other, especially if we were in other episodes, what everybody was doing. So
Yeah,
I had like a little bit of an idea. I was excited for Raf's like blowing up the moon. I know. I just keep hearing how Teo. I won't say what his is, but I know that that was supposed to be a pretty wild one when it was
yeah,
filming. That everyone kind of
yeah.
turned on him.
That's very fun. Yeah, I talked to Paul about the show, and I was like, "Any you're excited about?" He's like, "I'm excited for Teo. I'm excited for Katie. I'm excited for mine. Like I'm excited for people to see mine, but like Katie and Teo
Yeah.
made special presentations of just like." Anyway, I can't wait for whatever that madness is going to be, and we get Paul's tonight, and
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
people seem upset about what he presented them, based on the reactions that I have seen on Instagram. Sort of, you can't unlearn this kind of thing. Um, yeah, I also, I mean, look, I've got you here, and we've never talked before. I want to talk about Agnes, one of my absolute favorite characters
Oh,
of all time.
sure.
Like Tiny Heist is so good. It is the first thing I watched for like Dropout in Dimension 20.
Oh, wow.
Because I came from the McElroys to saw that the first episode of Tiny Heist was on YouTube, watched it, and I was like, well, I'm not going to pay money for this. I'll never see the rest. And then obviously
Yeah. Yeah.
years later, my life is a little different. But do you remember what it was like coming up with Agnes, playing at that table? What that process was?
Oh yeah, we had a pre-meeting. I can remember us like all in a conference room. The McElroys were there, and Brennan had gave us like a rundown of the world, and the different types of characters that they would be. And some people seemed like very clear right away. They knew what they wanted to do. And then I had noticed no one was picking like a little kind of fairy magical creature, and I was like, okay, I'll do that. Like that seems fun. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm like from Jersey and I like trashy, like Atlantic City casino ladies. So I was like, that would be like a fun fairy if she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the dome, yeah, that was back when we were in our old offices. So it wasn't even at the new space. So there was like just a floor that looked like a floor in a building where like offices would be, but you see like this giant dome just like created inside of it. And they were so nice. I had never seen their stuff before, but I just knew that they were like a name in D&D, and they couldn't have been sweeter. And it was so fun to do it with Lily too, because I had a D&D group that I did with like very informally, but I mean, even with doing it for a while, I like barely knew the rules, just kind of like wing it. So yeah, it was so fun.
Uh, it's so great. Yeah, it's so funny to think about like obviously like my life now is very weirdly Dropout specific. I'm just like I'm gonna talk to everyone at Dropout, and like 4 years ago I was like I've seen one thing on Dropout.
Yeah.
And
That would be like
uh,
the start of COVID, right? 2020, 4 years ago?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
probably had watched. I think I'd watched Tiny. Yeah, because that would have been right around when Tiny Heist came out, right? Like I think I'd watched like the first episode before COVID, and then COVID, like during lockdown. I was like, I need content desperately, and I saw Fantasy High was all on YouTube, and I started it, and they bleep out the swears, and you've been around those people, you know how often they swear,
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
I will give you any amount of money to make the bleeping stop. And then I discovered it was like $5, and I was like, oh, that's the most reasonable amount of money you could have asked me for. And so,
That's
and then yes,
great.
yeah,
Do you
and
play
then
D&D at all?
I do.
Oh, fun.
I'm actually playing kind of, but not really, with Brennan and Vic and Erica and Persephone this weekend.
Oh,
There's
cool.
the unprepared casters Haley Whipjack's charity stream. I say kind of because they're Travis McElroy is on it as well. None of those people are in my time slot because it's a bunch of people playing over the course of 12 hours.
Gotcha,
Um,
gotcha.
but I'm very excited to be on that list of people.
So
Um,
fun.
yeah, um, and all of it going to Trans Lifeline, and we've raised I think like $6,000 already, and the
Oh,
event
wow.
hasn't started yet. Yeah, it's bonkers.
That's
So
awesome. That sounds so
yeah, it
fun.
should be very very fun. Um, I don't like talking about myself, and now I'm all thrown off.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's very fine. Um, a
I
fun
do this
and
in job
very.
interviews as well. I just like start asking people about themselves.
I think you're supposed to in job interviews. That endears you to
Yeah.
the person. Um, and Yeah, it's funny. I was like doing my homework on you, and you are Jessica Ross parentheses 12 on IMDb. I don't know if you knew you were 12th.
I had no
Um,
idea. No.
but you are the top result when you search Jessica Ross. So
There we
the other 11
go.
underneath, they may have gotten their name first, but they're not hitting the top search result. So
So I think
congratulations on
Jessica
that.
was
There
like
is
the
no
most,
question.
yeah. Oh, thank you. There, I think Jessica was like the most popular name when I was born. So just growing up, I think I always had like a best friend that was also named Jessica. So I'm very used to other Jessas. I know no other Jess Rosses. I have like Google picture my name, and I see there's one that's like a boxer, and I'm like, oh, she looks really cool. I wish I was that one.
I, I
But yeah,
actually
there
have
are
a
a lot of
cousin named
us.
Jessica Ross, so
There you go.
yeah,
Number 13.
yeah, yeah. I don't think she's an actor, but who knows? We're not close. Um, yeah, one of the other things that I really love, I pitched this to Katie yesterday, kind of. So I'll pitch you this as well. Erotic book club, obviously so fantastic. Obviously, we need more of it. You know where I think it would work really well? in front of a live audience for season 2 of Dropout Presents. Thoughts?
That sounds really fun. I'm down to do that. Me and Rick have often talked about like, oh, we should do it again, and then like just busy with life and like setting it up. But we really love doing it, especially when we
Yeah.
started to like bring on other guests and then they could kind of come up with the theme and then we were all writing it together. But yeah, I liked both iterations of it. I liked when we were reading the crappy, like way back in the day when there were College Humor podcasts,
Yeah.
we would get Amazon books that were like anywhere from, I don't know, a cent to like $3, and then make sure that they were short so people would actually read or at least skim them and then like review them. So that was fun. And then yeah, when turned into like the fan fiction thing, and then my wife Kate did the drawings for it. So it often like go in the bedroom where she has like her little tablet set up and just see like I don't know in sync with like giant baguettes coming out of their dicks or something. It's like, oh, okay, she's working right now. I'll let
She's
her.
working. Yeah.
Yeah, working hard for the money.
Yeah, I should clarify. I told Katie she should do Rank Room live because I think
Oh,
that also
yes,
would be a
yes,
very
yes. That would
fun.
be so fun too.
Yeah, I think there's so many old things from the College Humor and early Dropout days that I think would work so well in front of a live audience, even if it's just one-offs, and we could get more of. Because I know so many people, I see so many people talk about like, the like Paranoia, Rank Room, Kingpin Katie,
Oh God,
Erotic
paranoia.
Red Book Club, yeah, of just like things people miss desperately.
I remember paranoia. I wasn't the one, but then there was the gravity bong was just like there. So before I left, I took a big hit of it and then was like waiting for my lift, and I got so paranoid. I was like, I'm gonna get fired. I'm so bad. That oh, I had not smoked a gravity bong I think since college probably. So, but yeah, I feel like Smarty Pants would be a good one to do live because it felt like there
Yeah,
was
for
like
sure.
live elements to it. Like the reveal, I think was so much bigger even in person when I like got into my wrestling outfit because I had been in that outfit for hours at that point.
Right.
And then we would go back right before ours, get ready, and then come out. So I was really like trying to hide it. And when I like ripped it off, I think we had to do it 3 times because I think the first time they were so loud that then they were like, okay, we got to get it again. We did it again, but then I think people like forgot or something and screamed again, which just felt really good on my end. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I did good on this. And then finally the third one, then I was able to like keep going. But it was so
Yeah, I
fun.
mean, yeah, it's so fun. You got Rika so good with it.
Oh yeah,
Just
yeah.
right.
Well, if anyone knew, I think she would probably be the only one at College Humor who knew I was into wrestling because we would talk about like the Attitude Era at work and
Hmm.
stuff. But it's almost like a childhood thing where it's like, yeah, you don't really, I don't know. I don't know what like everybody's childhood favorite things are. So it was something I've always liked,
Yeah,
but yeah, don't talk about as much in my adulthood. But
yeah.
yeah.
I very rarely bring up Sting, the
Yeah.
wrestler. I bring up
I
Sting, the
know
musician,
Sting.
much more often.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say my favorite wrestling story is I used to work at when I was in a anyway. I used to work at where the St. Louis Blues play hockey. Um, and the WWE came through, like and had wrestling, whatever, Monday Night Raw or something there one night, and so I was where I worked in the warehouse, so like took snacks up to the concession stands and whatever, and so like the wrestlers used the doors to the warehouse as like the entrance to the arena when they were like filming,
Oh
which was
yeah,
very
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
And then at one point I went in and I don't remember who it was, but a wrestler who he had a big X that he like drew on his that was drawn on his face. And I
Big
went into like the
X on his
bathroom.
face.
Yeah, it's going to fully escape me until later when I Google wrestler with an X on their face. But like I went into the bathroom. I think it was Ed Hardy. That's a person, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, the Hardy
yeah, the
Boys,
Hardy.
right? They're like brothers with
Yeah,
long hair and they jump
yeah.
around. They're like
I
on
think it was one
ladders
of
a
the.
lot.
I'm almost positive it was one of the Hardys. Anyway, I went into
Okay.
like the bathroom around from the warehouse, and he was putting his makeup on,
Oh,
and I said,
fun.
"You don't have someone that does that for you?" And he goes, "I like to do it myself." And I was like, "All right." And that was it was also very fun to just be backstage
Oh,
and watch them all
yeah.
like sitting around waiting to go out, just like chatting with each other, people who were about to go out and scream at each other how much
I
they hated
know.
each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
I'm just like
yeah. They're like
backstage
buddies.
goofing off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
um,
that. My favorite
It was
wrestling story, there was like a commercial during wrestling that if you got a like big box of Castrol GTX from I don't know whatever like local stores that sell that car stores, you would get a photo of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I made my
incredible.
dad go and buy this. I don't even know. I'm sure he ended up using it, but this huge case of Castrol GTX so I could have my own like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I should have worn my Stone Cold shirt today. I wasn't even thinking.
Missed opportunity. The next
Missed
time we chat,
opportunity. Next time, yeah, yeah.
Thousandaires season 2 or
Hell
before.
yeah.
I'll remind you. I won't remember. If the wrestling landlord was going to transition to drag, what would his whole deal be?
Oh, he would what would his deal be?
Would he
He
go
would
full like Ted DiBiase, but
yeah,
into
I
drag
think
of just like
like
money?
definitely, definitely. Yeah, a bag of money with like a gold or like a glittery green. I feel like a very like how like realtors have like headshots and they
Mm-hmm.
look like very like I think that would be like she's like a corporate bitch for sure.
Yeah.
And she's all
Uh,
about the money. Yeah. But then she's also like unhinged. Yeah. And she won't
yeah.
help you get anything done in your house. She'll be a piece of
Yeah.
shit. That came from very real places too. I think a lot of
Oh,
issues were happening in our apartment. And you know, anytime I get to, yeah,
yeah.
shit
No,
on landlords.
it was felt
Yeah.
as someone who's lived in many apartments. I was like, no, I get this.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was so funny. Like you and Katie and Grant all when presented with choose a larger than life character went with what if I was just like an asshole? Like that, and it's very funny to make that swing for three of you to make that big swing in sort of the same direction was very delightful.
Yeah, Katie was so good. She was like playing chess. Like she
Yeah.
was steps ahead, thinking like, "Oh, people will think someone else is this, so then I'll." And yeah, I just was not there at that time.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, like I said, I talked to Katie and yesterday, and we talked a bit about you know what the show was like, and obviously Katie has a billboard, so there are some assumptions that have been made online about who might win, since she is the funniest person in LA. But I had said, and I think this is true, that you and probably several other people would get Katie a billboard if you won it because it would be funny and nice. So I don't think it's out of the possibility that Katie didn't win, and someone was just like, no, Katie deserves it.
Yeah, I think that's all true and false, and at the same time,
Yeah.
I cannot say. But yeah,
Right.
no, the billboard was so fun. It was like because it was pretty close to our house too, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like really exciting. And so I remember she was showing us like the designs of it. And just the way that she designed it too to kind of look like a crappy advertisement was just like cracking me
Yes.
up. She's so funny.
Yeah, so funny. Also, I love that it was a voicemail for Michael Sarah and then a voicemail for Eggs. My assumption is that she gives her phone number out on Thousandaires. Certainly hope she does, and we get a third new voicemail. If we don't have one for Ratfish, whatever. Like, there's like I just love Katie's commitment to a weird bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think I can say our episode is next, so you will know
Oh,
sooner than
great,
later what is,
great.
yeah, what is attached to what.
I love it. That means next week's going to be a Jess heavy week then on Dropout because it'll be the Ratfish finale and Thousandaires with you. Delightful.
Oh
Um,
yeah. And again, that's all so coincidental because we kind of
yeah,
like picked the lineup for Thousandaires, separate from like picking that and knowing when things will come out. So yeah, just a just heavy
yeah,
week.
yeah. Which everyone will love.
Oh good.
I would say like it's your someone deep in the fandom spaces. People adore you. I mean, obviously, like, look, Don't Cry doesn't get made if people don't love you, both in
Aw.
person and online. Have you? I hope you feel. Do you feel that love from the Dropout community? Is the fandom nice to you? I hope.
Oh, Absolutely. Yeah. I actually wasn't on social media for most of like my start at College Humor and kind of the start of Dropout. Only recently did I get on Instagram. So I just notice it way more now. I'll get like people reaching out or I see that they share things and just really sweet messages about, yeah, it just everybody's so sweet. It's like a really nice fan base too. I can't think of anyone I've heard that's like the fan, especially Dropout specifically. The College Humor days, you would definitely read some comments and be like, "Oh, this sucks. Maybe I never want to be on camera again."
Yeah.
But I made the mistake of being a woman, yeah, online.
Yeah.
But
Brutal
no, but
a terrible choice, Jess.
yeah.
Think better
Next
of it.
time I will do
Yeah.
better. But no, but like I can't really think of anyone who says that they have like a bad experience with the Dropout fan base. I think it attracts a lot of what it puts out there. I think it's trying to put, like happy, feel good vibes, fun, and I think that that's all that I felt back from people.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, it's always nice doing these interviews, hearing people talk about like how good like behind the scenes production stuff is. How equitable and like, generally kind everything is. Because as someone who has made, it's not my day job, but like all of my personality is this. It's always like, boy, I hope they're not bad people because I got to make a lot of changes real quick if they are.
Oh no, no. I
Yeah,
mean, truly I spoke to about Thousandaires and the process, but I would imagine that that's pretty similar for every show. It seems like people, the hard work is just working hard to make it good and wanting it to be the best that it can be. But it's not hard working with the people. Like it's
yeah,
always, and like when things go, the few times that things do go wrong, you're never like chastised or scolded. It's always like, okay, like let's figure that out. And especially I
yeah.
think in part two, just because things are made so quickly, it's like, yeah, we're just like working
We don't
hard,
have a
working
choice.
fast, and
Yeah.
having fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Katie went for 45 minutes, so everyone needs
Oh
to
yeah.
stop interrupting as much. We're going to keep moving. I don't know how we're going to edit it, but we'll figure it out, which they did. It turned out masterful.
Filmed like 10 or 10 presentations that day. So yeah, that was I guess a lot of the days are kind of fever dreamy. It was a very
Yeah.
long day.
Yeah,
But all of them were so different that it did feel like it was certainly fun.
yeah, that is what I've heard from so many people. Like Vic in Sam Says 3 talking about, like, I don't remember anything. Like, Vic literally told me I didn't get to meet the pig. And because obviously in the episode, they don't meet the pig. And then in Cut for Time, they do meet the pig. And I like messaged Vic and they're like, genuinely, I have no memory of it.
That's the hard part of it too. You film it so long ago, you film it so
Right.
quickly, that it does sometimes just feel like, oh, I have absolutely no idea what I said. I mean, I handed
Yeah,
in the one dirty laundry response. They did ask for it a couple weeks in advance, and then when it was said the like back
that's right.
tattoo
Yeah.
one, I was like, oh, I genuinely didn't know if it was somebody else's or not. I was like, I have no fucking idea what I said.
Yeah.
So that often happens too.
That's truly one of my favorite moments from Dirty Laundry of you being like, well, I have that, but someone else must
I
also
felt
have that,
so
right?
bad. I
Like,
thought I in the show. I was like, I'm so sorry, Paul. I did not mean to like, I knew that I wrote it down, but I was like, oh, maybe they didn't pick it and maybe it was someone else's, or maybe I didn't write it down because I thought everyone already knew.
yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Made for such a great moment.
It was very fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Jess, this has been absolutely delightful. Thank you so much. You said you're on Instagram now, so if the folks want to follow you, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. At Jess Ross Comedy. You can find me on Instagram.
Wonderful. And any other, I mean, obviously watch Thousandaires every week. Do it. Any other things that you would like to plug?
Plug? No, I mean, most of the stuff I do is on Dropout, so just check out all that stuff. Go back and
Great.
like watch some oldie stuff too. I wrote on Ultra
Agreed.
Mechatron, which was
Yep.
so fun, and I loved that. Kingpin Katie, I also wrote with Katie. So yeah, like go check out some old Dropout stuff. If you're new to the channel, we have a lot of really
Yeah.
fun,
There's
yeah,
such a
older stuff
fantastic. Go
too.
back. Go back and watch the sketches where Jess has the audacity to be a woman on the internet. They're
Yeah,
all
yeah,
very
yeah.
good.
I remember one
Yeah.
time someone wrote like, "Who does she think she is with those glasses?" I was like, "Someone who can't see." Like, what do you
Yeah.
mean?
A
Like,
person who needs to be able to see things.
I don't
That's
like
who I think I am.
yeah. It's wild.
God, The internet is such a bad place, but I'm so
Yeah,
happy you
yeah.
joined me for this a DM from a stranger.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I had seen other,
Yeah,
people
no,
posting and just did. Yeah, yeah.
it really helps when you can be like, I've interviewed Sam.
Uh,
Like that one feels like an easy one to be like, oh, okay, he's probably legit. So, anyway, Jess, this has been absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for more Thousandaires and to see you interrupt people on Smarty Pants since we've already seen your presentation. I can't wait for more.
oh
And
yeah.
I don't know how to end an interview, so I'm just gonna hit stop recording.
There we go.